This Amateur Radio Roundtable is brought to you in part by ICOM America. All right, hello and welcome to everybody out there watching tonight to Amateur Radio Roundtable. I'm Tom Medlin, W5KUB, and it's Tuesday. It's time for Roundtable. Hey, tonight we've got Joe Eisenberg with us. He's going to be talking about a few neat things. We'll get with him in just a couple minutes. Hey, if you're listening on WBCQ, we're simulcasting our audio on International Shortwave Station, WBCQ, on 5130 kilohertz out of Monticello, Maine. And if you're listening and hear it on shortwave, shoot us an email and let us know how you heard it and where you heard it. Just send me an email to tom@w5kub.com, tom@w5kub.com, and we'd love to hear from you. Our net went pretty well tonight. It started off pretty bad. We had quite a few check-ins there actually. It started off pretty bad. The bands were terrible and signals were really bad. But I did hear Bill WZ5L. I heard Bill in there, and boy, there were some powerful stations, man. Colorado Springs was coming in like 30 over 9 tonight finally, but we had about 30 check-ins, I guess. Hey, in case there's a new guy out there, Dave in near King George, Virginia, WA3GIN. Hey, Dave, you joined the net tonight, and we told you about the show. Hope you're there. So everybody say hello to Dave. And somebody check and see if he's in here, WA3GIN. He may not even be in here. And, hey, there was a guy going in a club meeting tonight. He was sitting in his car, and I told him to tune the club meeting in, too. If they got a PC up here, tune us in. That was K5LIB down in Lubbock, Texas. He checked in the net tonight. So pretty good net after all. It was a little tough at first, but it turned out okay. So let's see what's going on here. Boy, it's almost the end of November. That's hard to believe. First part of December, I'll be in Fort Benning, Georgia. I'm going over to the Army base in Fort Benning. To a graduation ceremony over there. We have a nephew there that's graduating basic training. I want to see how he looks now. I think it's really going to do him good. The first week or 10 days, I think he was able to send a note out or something that says he hated basic, but that was like first 10 days, you know. So I'm sure they were probably really working him over really good. But we're going to go over there for his graduation somewhere around first, second week of December, but we'll still have our show. Let's see. So I'll tell you what let's do. First of all, if you looked at our posting about the show segments tonight, quite a bit has changed. Rich from CQ had to cancel tonight. Josh had a meeting he had to attend. We had hoped to bring in Howard Nurse, who is the guy that's working on the rigpi, but he had a board meeting tonight, so it was kind of a bad night all around. So Joe and I are going to try to hold down the ship tonight. We hope that Katie will be back next week. We miss Katie tremendously. She said she'll probably be back December. If you guys follow our Facebook group, you saw a picture, and the reason Katie has been out for the past month, where's she been, Joe? Up in,
I think, North Dakota.
North Dakota, sure. Man. I don't even think they have internet up in North Dakota. But anyway, she's up there, and they had a grandbaby up there. So there's pictures on my Facebook group. Hey, if you want to join our good ham radio Facebook group, join W5KUB. That's all you got to put in Facebook, and it'll take you to our group. We got between 7,000 and 8,000 members now, and we'd love to have you join our Facebook group. So let's go out to I think it's Lincoln, isn't it? Lincoln, Nebraska.
Lincoln, Nebraska.
Lincoln,
home
Nebraska.
Of the Huskers.
And let's talk with Joe a little bit and see what Joe's got. Now, he didn't have any kits tonight, but I said, Joe, you got to come up with something tonight. So here's Joe. Joe, what are we going to talk about tonight?
Actually, I do have a couple of kits that I may have mentioned before, and a couple of things. As you know, you kind of told me to kind of keep it short, and now we find out it's the opposite.
Yeah, now we have to make it long.
So we'll do the best we can, and hopefully we're not going to put everybody to sleep. it is getting close to the holidays, and with Hanukkah starting on the 2nd, which is Sunday night, and with Christmas coming up in just a very short time, you always wonder what to get for somebody who likes to build stuff, and that's kind of my specialty. By the way, before we go any further, I'd like to mention that in January, the first weekend in January is Ham Radio University. And for those that aren't familiar with this, it is kind of a ham fest that has no flea market, no exhibitors, but there are exhibitors. There are clubs and organizations only. So there's nothing really being sold except maybe club memberships and club stuff. But it is all seminars, and there's like 7 seminars or so, 7 or 8 seminars at one time, and there are like 5 or 6 seminar periods during the day. It's held in Long Island at Long Island University Post. And I have not been to the New York City metropolitan area since 1974. So this is going to be kind of a nice experience, although probably the coldest time of the year. So we're looking forward to it. And I'm the only zero in fact, the only non-2 call sign on the list of speakers and moderators. So they're going to have to put up with my very Midwestern sounding accent compared to New York and Jersey. So it's going to be a lot of fun, Tom. I don't know if you get to the big city often, but like I said, 1974 is a long time.
Hey, Joe, I was last time I was in New York, I think it was 1964, the World's Fair.
Wow.
Well, I think it was 62 or 64. Probably, no, wait a minute. Yeah, 64. Somebody do a check on that. Do a Google. World's Fair in New York. I think it was 1964. So long, I can't remember it, man.
Yeah, that's quite a long ways. So it's going to be fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm just crossing my fingers that I don't have any weather issues with my flights. At least going there. Going home, I don't care. It's going there that I worry about. And we had an actual blizzard here, blizzard warnings on Sunday. So winter is already here in Nebraska. And by the way, don't complain about having to turn your heat on. It was 11 degrees when I pulled out onto the road to go to work in Omaha this morning. 11 degrees. And I don't think it got above freezing today. So let's take a look here. Let me get ready to share the screen. So I'm going to have to move a few things around because my Skype updated and it changed a bunch of stuff. So we're hoping that things work okay. I know you did the same thing.
Yep.
So let's see if this lets me. Did that do it or not?
Well, no. I'll tell you, man, I think you just went into the twilight zone.
Yes, I did. I don't know what happened.
We're just seeing a picture of the video, and it.
Okay, that's not good.
No, you need to bring up You need to bring a picture up on top of that.
Okay, and it's not doing it.
It's not doing it.
Okay, here we go. Is that better?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so now we got rid of the problem. We're going to talk a little bit about soldering techniques, and then we're going to go into a few things. This is kind of a typical solder connection. Hopefully that looks pretty clear. And you'll notice that 2 of them look pretty good, and the other ones around it look good and are already trimmed off. And if you notice the shape of these ones that are already trimmed off, they look like the top of what? A Hershey's Kiss, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at these 2 connections, they look like it too, but look at that big blob. And that happens sometimes. And I had somebody hand me a board and say, hey, that one must really stick. But if you notice, you're going to see flux that kind of got in between the solder and the board, and it's not actually making contact at all. If you take your little finger and you lift up on that wire, it's going to probably come loose. So let me show you what I do to cure that. And by the way, that brings up a big hint. And the big hint is never use a soldering tip that's much wider than the pads that you're soldering to. And the same thing goes with the thickness of the solder. You want to have solder that's thin enough so that it doesn't blob between pads either. So let me see if this is going to let me do that. Okay, that does work. And you're going to see that the soldering tip here, what I do is I take that tip and I bring it down to that pad that has that blob on it. And I hold it there for about 2 or 3 seconds, and it heats it up. The solder flows into the hole, and then I take the tip and I draw it up. And you can see kind of a bead of solder on the bottom of the tip of the iron. And I draw that tip away from that connection, and then I take that tip and I take that excess solder and I wipe it off. So now it looks like the top of a Hershey's Kiss, and that's what you really want it to look like. Now in this picture, I'm not using the no clean solder, so you can see the remainder of the flux that's on that board, and that can be cleaned off with alcohol usually. But as you can see, I'm using a tip that at the very end is not any wider than the pad that we're soldering to, and I use solder that's not any thicker than that either. This is a good suggestion here, and I wrote about this, I think, last year, and it's worth repeating. A lot of times this time of the year, you're going to find these tools on sale, really cheap, sometimes at Walmart or Target or Shopko or Menards or Lowe's or Home Depot, places like that. And you're going to find out that the tools are like half price this time of year. The tip set on the right, I think, was only $10 or $15, and the tool itself was no more than about 15 or 20 at the most, I think. And that's a chargeable battery-operated Dremel. And it's a pretty valuable tool in dealing with kit building, because a lot of times we have to grind off little pieces here and there or things like that, or use little tiny bits. So you want to make sure you get a collet set that lets you use tiny bits to make holes like in circuit boards or things like that to pass wires through. And so a Dremel is really a must if you're going to be doing any work, especially with cases and things like that. Because once you build the kit, unless it comes with a case, you're going to be missing out. You're going to have to work with plastic or metal or even your Altoids tins. And these kind of tools really, really go a long way and does a good job. Now, we're going to take a look here at a kit that I mentioned earlier. This is the Morania, and they are on sale again. They do have a stock of them at 4sqrp.com. If you look up the 4-state QRP group and you look for this is a very simple AM broadcast radio, but amazingly it sounds good, and the case is part of the kit. As you can see, there's a front panel and there's side panels and there's back panels and so forth, and they're all stuck together. And so you're going to crack those along those seams. You just bend it with your hands and they come apart. And you take a emery board and you can file off the rough edges, and it only takes like 2 or 3 strokes of emery board, and it's nice and smooth. And you'll see those silvery pads. Let me see if I can point it out with the cursor. You'll see these little pads there, and that's where you're going to be putting solder to join the pieces together. So the circuit board material becomes the case. Now, obviously, because this is an AM broadcast receiver, you cannot have the copper-clad material on the board. So the only copper-clad material is at these pads where you're going to join those pieces together. Otherwise, your loopstick antenna, which is down here, would not work. This kit is available. I think it's like $35 plus shipping, and it's a great kit to start with, and I'm going to tell you why. Let's take a look at the back of the front panel on this. And by the way, this was designed by David Kripe, NM0S, and he is a design engineer for Rockwell Collins. Oops, somehow I went back. He's a design engineer for Rockwell Collins and is in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Now you'll notice that there are no holes for the components on this board. That's because you solder the parts to the pads. And so it's a great kit to put together, especially for a first-time kit builder, somebody who has trouble with the parts going through the holes and so forth. You're going to have no trouble at all with this. There's several different approaches to doing this. Some people will put a tiny dab or a little mound of solder on each one and just heat it up and put the legs down on those pads, and then take your trimmers and cut off the excess wire. And it works great. You'll notice that on the speaker grill on the back side, which is what we're looking at, you're going to see here, like it says R1 is 100K brown, black, yellow. So it identifies each part on the back of the speaker. Now, of course, that gets covered up by the speaker, and then, of course, you're never going to see it when you put the case on. You'll see the audio transformer here. Everything is marked, like there's a P marked on the transformer, and so it shows you which side that goes to. Everything is pretty clearly marked. Now, I have to tell you, there's modifications to this board, and one of them turns the volume control into a combination volume and RF gain control. And that's really useful if you're in a market where you have several strong signals that are close together. In Omaha, where we have a 50 kilowatter and a couple of 5 kilowatters and stuff, they pretty much slop up the band and you're not going to hear the other signals. Well, by doing the modifications, and I wrote about these in my, I think it's in my January or February column, I have noted these modifications to this kit that allow you to, like I said, change that into a combination volume control and RF gain control. And it made a huge difference. We have an AM 1240, an AM 1400, and an AM 1480. And before, it was kind of messed together. And when I did that modification, it cleaned it up right away. And you can adjust the sensitivity quite easily. So this is what the inside of the Morania looks like, and that's what it looks like when it's done. Now, this is before the modifications. One of the modifications involves lifting these one of these pads from the pot and then running a wire over there and lifting a resistor and soldering it to that. And then another one of the mods is changing one of the resistor values, which seems to help distortion when you're dealing with stronger signals. You'll notice that the loop stick, which has the coil of wire on it, is covered up. It's because you're supposed to cover it with masking tape so that the roughness of the ferrite rod doesn't eat through the insulation on the insulated enameled wire that you use to wind the antenna. And then I covered that with masking tape so it holds it in place. So if you want to do any modifications to the loop stick, it's only held in place with a couple of stickers that have feed-throughs for zip ties. So all you need is a couple of small zip ties to take it off, fix it, put the zip ties back. It's a fun kit. It's a great thing to, like, your kids or grandkids. You can work with them on this, and it doesn't take too long, and they get a nice finished radio when it's done. And that's what it looks like when it's all done. And in this case, it's tuned to our local AM 1240, which came out in the right place on the dial when you get the right number of turns.
That's cool.
Here's another kit. Now, we're not so much talking about the kit. We're going to talk more about the construction technique. And once again, it's a group of pads that you put some solder on it, and then you bend the legs of the part, and then you set you hold the part like with a needle nose or something on that pad. You heat it up, and then the leg gets soldered to that pad. And so we call that Pittsburgh construction in terms of the way that's done for the four-state kits, and Rex calls it Limerick construction, which is his hometown.
I always knew it as Manhattan construction.
Well, Manhattan involves a raised pad that's on top
does
of
it?
a backplane. And
Okay.
these pads are just open pads on a circuit board and have circuit board wiring, while the Manhattan type, you still have to run like a wire between leads and so forth.
Yeah.
But the Limerick and the Pittsburgh style, the leads are done for you in the circuit board. So let's take a look here. This soldering iron, this is the 3020, and I think it's been superseded by the 3030. I'm not sure. This comes from Xtronic USA, XTRONIC USA.com. This particular one is, I think it's like $56, something like that. And it has a roll holder right here. It holds your solder. You notice I don't use real thick solder. Once again, we got to preach that. And you'll look here, it has a digital temperature dial controlled by the analog control there. Got your power switch. You have a tip cleaner in here that has flux and has brass. And then you also have the sponge, and it has the handle holder right there. And this thing will hold the temperature between 0 to 2 degrees Celsius up and down. It also has a sleep mode, so that if you're not doing much with it, it cools the tip off, so it keeps from cooking off that coating on the end of the tip. Look for Xtronic USA. They do sell them through the eBay store and through Amazon, and it does qualify for the Amazon Prime shipping if you have that. And surprisingly, it's distributed. I don't know why it's doing this. It keeps going back. It's distributed through a company that warehouses and sells these from here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And he was all excited when I told him who I was, because he was looking for me, and he had no idea I live right in Lincoln. He wanted to let hams know about these products. And so they've advertised off and on in CQ, and they're very popular. It's always good to have a good soldering iron. This is a 3000 series. They have one that doesn't have a digital display. They have one that does. The case looks real similar to the Weller inexpensive one. This isn't really much more than that. It's maybe $8-10 more, but it's digital and temperature controlled instead of just variable, and makes a great gift if you have a kit builder in mind. And this is what the tip looks like, and it uses Heiko tips, and so if you take the tip out, you can find the Heiko equivalent. And I think that is the end of my pictures.
All right. Well, I tell you, I'm going to need to get me a new soldering station. I have been buying some cheapies on eBay. They're digital readout, just like that. But Joe, I've two of them have gone bad on me. I'll forget and I'll leave it on like overnight.
Yeah.
And then it comes back, and I'm not sure what goes out, the unit or the element in there, but
that I don't know. I know this thing sleeps. It sleeps itself, so it cuts it way down. So hopefully that's going to eliminate that problem.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
All right, so let's see here. I'm going to, how do I get back to?
I can bring you back.
Stop sharing.
I can bring you back like that.
There we go. How about that?
No, I did it. Did you do that? There you are.
Oops. Is it messing up there?
I did that. So I don't know where you are, but I was able to bring you back to there, okay?
Okay, so
hey,
now
cool.
you got me.
Hey.
And
Go
let's
ahead.
see. When you're building a kit, quite often you're going to get components that the lettering is rubbed off or something, and you're not sure what it is. You can use a meter to measure your resistors, but how about something that tells you what a transistor is, if it's good, capacitors and so on? I've showed kits for this before. This is a pre-made one, and they sell this for $12.99, so it's $13. It says component tester. You can get this from Nightfire Electronics. It's already assembled. So all you do is you put a 9-volt battery in there, and it's not mounted in any case, but you can mount it to a block of wood or a plastic case or something like that. The socket on it is what we call a ZIF socket, or zero insertion force. And so you can stick the parts in there, and it'll tell you what it is and what its value is. And you can't beat it for $13. So there's another thing you can get for a kit builder that's not expensive and well worthwhile.
Hey, look at here, Joe. Look at this, man. Let me see if I can show it to you.
Okay,
I didn't do a very good job cutting the window out, but
there you go. That's one of these.
That's it right here. Let me tell you, that is the handiest thing, man. I mean, you know, a lot of transistors aren't marked, or you pull them out of a board and you don't know what they are, and you just plug the 3 leads in here, boy, and it'll tell you if it's an NPN or a PNP, and it also will identify which leg is emitter, base, and collector. It tells it right on the screen. Or
if it's a MOSFET, DGS, drain gate and source. So very much worthwhile. And I don't like doing group kit builds without having one of those nearby. Once again, here's another kit, the Hilltopper. They now have a 40-meter version of this. Now you're saying, why are most of the QRP kits 40 meters and 20 meters? Well, if you know anything about what the band conditions are like right now, those are the bands that work. There's not too many people who are real excited about building a 10-meter or 15-meter QRP transceiver because the bands aren't hardly open lately, except for, of course, during the middle of the skip season and so forth. But 20 and 40 are usually there. And if you have a tech license, you can actually be using 40. And so we have a lot of people that want stuff for those bands. I'm trying to think what else we have here. This was kind of a Black Friday find. This is a little tablet. This is put out by, it says RCA on it, I think. And it was at Walmart for $28. And it actually works really good. They had these before in past years for like $25. And once you did all the updates and got it all going, it would just lock up. It just wouldn't work because I don't know why, but the OS had a problem. But these don't seem to. They work pretty good. At Menards, which is a Midwestern kind of version of Home Depot, they had these things for $79. And let me show you this. This one actually works good too. It looks more like a laptop.
Yeah.
And it's a Packard Bell Android thing. It's a 10.1-inch screen, and you can see it comes off of the keyboard. And let me see here. It's got a front and rear camera, and it's pretty cool too. And it docks with this keyboard. These were $79. And what I use it for is, like during the contest, I use one like this to watch the cluster. So I don't even have my logging computer messing with that. I can look at the cluster and look for different spots and so forth. And because it has a keyboard, I don't have to touch the screen. I can just do it with the keypad or a keyboard. It makes it a lot faster to deal with. So during contests, having that extra tablet out there helps a lot. So that was the Black Friday bargains, and look for those every year. I know Walmart does that, and I know that Menards does that. Almost every year they have a bargain on a tablet, but in past years they haven't been quite so worthwhile because after a while they slow down and so forth. These seem to be working great, so a real good deal, and great to have. Like if you're doing satellite work, you can have your tablet with you to do logging or satellite tracking. Let's see if, I don't know. I think that's probably going to be too bright, but there it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming up. And that's not bad for a $28 tablet. You can add memory to it also. It's got a slot on the back to put a micro SD card in there. So, Tom, I think we've covered quite a bit.
Okay. Well, look, hey, your tablet you bought, that little cheapie, is the perfect thing for what I'm going to talk about here in a minute. You know, I'm going to talk about this new rigpi station server.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I tried running mobile. You know, when we went to Dayton this year, I tried putting the 7300 in the truck or the 991. And everything I put in there had terrible ignition noise. I worked to try to get the ignition noise out. I couldn't get it out. I mean, I went as far as taking ground straps, and I grounded everything, wheel wells and, you know, exhaust pipes and struts. I just, you know, everything was, you know, grounded to the frame, and it just, we couldn't get rid of the noise, the ignition noise. So I'm thinking, okay, I still want to be work mobile, but I don't want $1,000 radio in there that it gets stolen. So, you know, that's why I'm interested in remote shacks, remote base, and that's one thing I'm going to talk about tonight. But the nice thing, Joe, is like that little tablet you've got, if it'll bring a browser up, you can take that little tablet and mount that on the dash of your car, and that's your HF radio. And from right there, boy, you can go any band, any frequency, and make contacts. Hey, with an antenna, you know.
Yeah,
you know,
actually, you can use your cell phone as the hotspot to bring in the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and you can even use the cell phone as long as you get a browser on it. You can even use that to bring it in to actually make contacts on a cell phone. But the tablet's a little nicer, it's a little bit bigger screen and so forth. Or use a laptop, but there's all kinds of ways. But the nice thing about it is, you know, there's no place in these new trucks to mount anything. And take that little tablet screen and put it on the back of the back seat or something for somebody in the back, like if you got a ham riding with you to Dayton. Man, you got a mobile rig right there on the back of the seat. It's cool. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. Let's see. Hey, a couple of shout outs right now. I see in a chat room. Oh, first of all, if you're new tonight, if this is your first time in the chat room or watching the show, let us know in the chat room. Say, hey, I'm a newbie here. We want to say hi to you. But I noticed 3 people in here, I think, that checked in the 40 meter net tonight. I hope I don't miss anybody, but KD1XY checked in the net tonight. He's in a chat room. KF7PK, Chuck, he's out in Salt Lake City. He checked in. And KT0DX, Steve, he's in Colorado Springs. He checked in the net tonight. So I want to welcome them and anybody else that I might have missed there. So, hey, Joe, stick around with us a few minutes if you don't have to run off, man, and you can help me narrate a couple little spots here, okay?
All right, sounds good.
Hey, I've got one spot here called, it's a new spot tonight, man. It's called Advanced Techniques. Warning. These should be, done only by experts. Don't try these at home, but let's talk a little about a couple little advanced techniques that some people have used out there and see if anybody can tell us what's wrong with these things. Now, I don't know if anybody can really make this out good. The picture's not very large here. But, hey, you guys out in a chat room, what do you see here that you don't like? There's something wrong with this picture. Now, Joe, don't give it away if you see it, but there's something wrong with this picture. Now, let me tell you, one of the things wrong is there's a dirt dauber's nest in here. I see a dirt dauber's nest that shouldn't be in there probably. Now, another thing that may or may not be wrong, and I'm not an electrician, but I've looked at the National Electrical Code. I see a white wire on a breaker. Now, if that's a 220 circuit, I think it's permissible to use the black and the white both for hot. But since those breakers aren't tied together, I think that's an individual breaker, and there's a white wire on a breaker. So white's neutral, so I see a problem there. Let's see, what else is it going on here?
I see a lot of evils in this.
Yeah, So, and then, I don't know, I guess is that metal, or I wonder if that's PVC pipe in there or metal. It kind of, I see some couplings, but I'm not sure, but it's kind of neat the way they routed the water faucet through the breaker box. That's kind of cool there.
Yeah, I see the garden hose.
Yeah, that's kind of cool there. Now, there's some really cool guys out there that know what they're doing, and you know this right here tells you how confident some of these guys are. You know.
Oh, and that's 220 too.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you look at that strip there, you can tell it's probably a European or an international power strip there. But it's kind of neat the way they've got that strip floating with the flip-flops, you know? That's pretty cool right there. I don't know what this thing is over here on the side is taped to. Maybe it's to keep it floating if it falls in. I don't know, man. But you know, they've got their stereo out there, I guess, and just having a good time out there. Let's see. Let's see what the chat room says. Okay, somebody said that's to drain the excessive voltage, and that's that's a good point right there. Okay, so that's pretty cool there. Now, if you're really an expert and you have to make connections, I'm recommending using high quality stainless steel hose clamps. Now, if you'll notice, when I first looked at this, I only saw one hose clamp in there. But if you look, there are multiple hose clamps in there. Now,
I see at least 3.
Yeah, these are pretty cool things, see, to tap on to, to make your splices in there. And with them being stainless steel, you can figure they'll probably last a long time. Now, that little blade that's sticking out on the side of that top one there, just don't let it touch anything. That's what you got to be. Yeah,
because that's hot.
Yeah, that's what you got to be careful about there. But see, it's easy to go around large wires. Just get you an assortment of those, maybe anywhere from 3/8 of an inch to maybe a 1/2 inch, and you can even tap into big wires with that. Now, being hams, we all know a good ground's important, and a lot of times people do ground to water pipes. I'm not sure what this is. So, I don't know if this is hot water, cold water, or what, but it looks like it's a good metal pipe there. That should be probably a decent ground for for something.
I'd say it's rather loose.
I would say probably a stainless steel hose clamp might help in this case right here. Yeah. Let's see.
Actually, there's nothing wrong with using a hose clamp when you're connecting a ground wire to a pipe.
Yeah.
But obviously not for the hot leads.
Yeah.
In fact, I use large-scale hose clamps to clamp the aught gauge stranded that goes to the base of my tower onto the ground rods.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, now somebody here pulled a little too much current. I'm not sure what they plugged in here, but it may have been a big compressor or maybe a heater. I don't know. But I guess they finally discovered. Now, I think if you look at that, it looks like it would still work. It just won't unroll.
It's pretty melted.
But I think it'll still work, probably. I think the circuit integrity is still there, but you're just not going to be able to do it. Now, let's talk fusing. Fusing is important. People may have seen this before, but this is a good way. This is a
I've
really
not seen this one.
Yeah, this is a really good way to provide connectivity. If you run out of the right size fuse and so forth. Now, the only thing I see wrong about this is they should have nuts and washers on here, because that's just not complete the way they got those things snapped in there. But that will work right there. I would check it.
Not recommended.
I would check it regularly for like corrosion and stuff like that. Now, if you don't have the correct size bolt like that, there's always different things you can use for fusing. Whether,
I like this.
Yeah, whether if it's a little small, like these 3 AG fuses, you could probably use a little 22 shell. Pop a little 22 shell in there with a little lead on the end. That'd work pretty good. But when you start getting into the bigger the bigger circuits, you need to be able to carry a little bit more current. Now, I particularly like that 350 amp fuse right there, the third one from the left. That probably is, I'm not sure if that's slow blow or fast blow right there.
I like that 11 millimeter wrench.
Yeah, the 11 millimeter is good for 2,000 amps. Now, I would recommend you have some pretty heavy wire if you're going to use that thing, because it takes a lot to blow the 11 millimeter wrench right there. So and then every now and then, I mean, if you're not an expert in this field, you're going to make some mistakes sometime, and you're going to have some fires or something sometimes. So sometimes you might overload the transformer out there at the pole or something, but always have a bucket of water ready if you're going to, always have that bucket of water ready, and that way, you don't have to worry about, the fire department getting there, too awful quick. You can always put it out right there. So just remember what I said. These are things that, are performed only by experts. Don't try any of this at home, All right, so I thought that'd be just a quick little segment. That would take up a little bit of time tonight. And guys, this is not a typical show for us tonight. We typically have guests, and we have other segments. The next segment we're going to do in a couple minutes is going to be on the rigpi station server. That's a Raspberry Pi device that is being presently built and tested, beta tested, and it's really cool. And I'm going to show you some of the detail on it that you hadn't been able to see before. Let's see what else is going on here. Let's see what anybody in the chat room has anything to say. Guy said spent 22 cartridges work better. I think Mythbusters did they tried to see if it was myth or real by putting, I think it was a 22 shell in a fuse holder and trying to run current through it to see if they could get it hot enough to fire. I don't think they ever got it to fire, so it looked like it was a myth that the ammunition went off under the guy's dashboard and shot him, Oh, let's see. They said that guy's ready to kick the bucket, looks like, yeah. Yeah. All right, so that's just a few things here. Hey, I tell you what, let's do. Let's just have a little fun tonight before we get into the rigpi. I saw a video, and some of you guys may have seen it. It's really not ham radio, but, be careful when you lock your ham radio gear up, because, people will try to break it in and steal it. But this is just about a 2-minute video. It's kind of cool, and it's kind of narrated. Let me see if I can bring it up. Here we go.
It's an open parking lot, 11:09 p.m. There's a gentleman who's got himself a mop handle, and he is pointing it towards the window of a pickup truck. He's got a stance about shoulder width apart, and he bangs the mop at the top of the window and then hits and resets. He's got his feet now moving apart,
play-by-play.
Just to the right to check, make sure no one's around, and he's now positions the mop again, backs it up, slams it back into the window, slams it a second time. That's 3. That's 4. Las Vegas odds say he won't hit one more time, and he doesn't. Taking a breather, he looks like he's winded. Now he's starting to stumble just a little bit, gets the mop, backs up. He needs a bit more of a running start, and yes, he positions the mop, runs towards the window, and can't break it. Can't break it. That's 3, 4. If you're counting at home, that's 14 blows against the window with the mop. Now remember, the dirty part of the mop is underneath his arm. He's got a handle. Again, he strikes the window. And now he comes down hard. Raining blows down upon the window. 1, 2, 3. And this is just about tuckered him out. He decides to run over to the other window, thinking maybe that one will be a little easier to break with a mop handle. But no. Now he's moving away from the car and starting to get a second plan. This time he starts to climb up onto a rooftop. He still has the mop in his left hand. He places the mop on top of a roof, and now he starts to think about whether or not he wants to climb up. He places his right foot on top of the wall. Here he comes, and he falls off the roll. Oh, my God. Somebody get some salami and cream cheese.
All right, guys. Hey, sorry, it wasn't ham related, but, you know, every now and then we got to have a little bit of fun. Don't we, Joe?
Yep. I love it.
Man, you know. I like the narration there, play by play there, and especially he had the dirty part of the mop under his arm. Boy, that was really cool there. All right, hey, let's get into the rigpi here in just a second. But first, we'll be right back. I'm gonna take just a quick break here. Be right back. For the love of the holidays, surprise your favorite ham this season with a gift that's on their hot list. The holidays are just around the corner, and ICOM has plenty of cheer for everyone. The IC7610 is the SDR that every ham wants, and it's just in time for the holidays. This high-performance SDR has the ability to pick out the faintest of signals, even in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. The ICOM 7610 is a direct sampling, software-defined radio that will change the world's definition of a SDR transceiver. Changing the way entry-level HF is designed, the IC7300 is a high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design and will exceed your expectations with its RF direct sampling, large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, and its real-time spectrum scope. The IC-R30 raises the bar on DC to daylight receivers. Powerful yet easy to use, the R30 is packed full of features you have become to expect from ICOM, like a built-in GPS and Bluetooth, dual band with recording, high-speed scan, and Android and iOS apps. If you're looking for the perfect stocking stuffer, the ID51A Plus 2 provides new modes for extended D-Star coverage. Enjoy integrated GPS, independent AM/FM receiver, and a free Android app. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios. All right, I was just watching the chat room there. Somebody said they miss Katie, and yeah, we all miss Katie, and she's going to be back. She'll be back with us. Well, hey, she said early December, so December is here, so we can't wait for Katie to get back and be with us. And let's see what else is going on here. Well, okay, let's talk a little about the rigpi. I was going to have one hooked up operational here and try to make a contact while we're on the show, but I don't think that's going to happen tonight. But I've got a little spot here. I'm going to show you just some of the features. Now, you got to understand this rigpi is being beta tested right now. The product is not available, but it should be available real soon. And these are some enhancements that we've made to it. Howard Nurse is working on them out in California. He's doing all the development and stuff in it. Howard, you might remember from being on our show here a few weeks ago, Howard's dad was the president of Heath Company. And his dad was in all these Heathkit magazines and, you know, wrote a note to all the customers. But that's Howard, and he's working on this, and I'm doing a lot of beta testing. And I've been able to give him a lot of suggestions and things that maybe should be added and changed or work differently. And I've been able to test it out. So this device will work. The nice thing about this device is it'll give you complete station control of your radio. And hey, whether you got a Kenwood or a Yaesu or an ICOM or a Flex, any of these radios will interface to it, just typically with a USB cable from the radio plugged into the rigpi. The rigpi, or the RSS, it's very small. Here's a picture of it. It's about 4 inches square, and this thing is really, really cool. It's going to be called the rigpi station server, and it's going to be called MFJ model 1234. And it's not out there yet. I've got a prototype model here. And so I'm going to show you, I'm going to run a little bit of a clip here on going through some of the steps. Then we'll talk about it. And hey, we're going to open the phone lines up in a little while if people want to call in and talk about ham radio or ask questions. So be right back in a minute. Okay, so let's look at a few of the features of the rigpi station server. or it's called the RSS. This is a new product that MFJ is coming out with real soon. I'm helping to beta test and identify issues and make recommendations on buttons and how things should work and test them. So I just want to give you a little rundown in more detail. We've talked a little about it in the past, but have not talked a lot in detail. So I'm going to log in here. I'm going to log into it. There we go. And you can see this is what the basic screen looks like when you pull up the RSS or the rigpi station server. And you'll notice up here we've got frequency, and if we go split, we've got two frequencies. Of course, we have an S meter. Here's our main tuning dial here. We can tune by just digits, or we can tune by entering digits. Let's see what else. Let's see how to jump into this. First of all, across the top up here, you'll see you've got the tuner. That's the main screen. This is the main tuner screen. This is where you'd operate remotely. And right now, I'm going through the internet, so it's like I'm at a hotel, or I could be in the car using Wi-Fi in the car and using this screen to connect back to the radio here. So this is the tuner screen. There's a keyer function. We'll talk more about it. There's a logging function. It will log. You've got spots, like DX spots. You can do web browsing. And here's where you do some of your settings. So let's see if we can find a couple signals on here. Well, first, let me just show you. The setup is pretty simple. You just go to Settings, Radio, and here you would select your type radio. In this case, I'm using a Kenwood. I'm using the Kenwood TS2000. Let me see if I can find it here. I'm using the Kenwood TS2000. I'm just going to set my baud rate at 4800. And so that's pretty simple on the setup screen, and you have a disconnect and a connect to radio. I'm going to go back now to the tuner. All right, I'm back to the tuner. And several things are going on here. First of all, if you want to do split screen, you can, split operation, you can hit the split button. That actually turns the other VFO on here. So you could operate split if you want to. I'm going to turn split off. This tells you right now we're in lower sideband. We're in receive. We've got a UTC clock up here. I think you can make that local if you want to. And you can read the main and subband frequencies. Over here on the left, you've got all the different buttons for the different bands you might want to work. On this particular radio, we've got set up 160 through 2 meters. And you can select lower sideband, upper sideband, CW, AM, and so forth, FM, and so forth. Now, the neat thing about it, there's macros. You can set macros up here. If you're in a CW contest or something, you can actually set a macro up here that will actually send Morse code. I don't know if you heard that or not. So you can actually set keys up for CW. Now, you can also set keys up to control your radio. For instance, this tune button will actually tune the radio. If I jump to different bands and want to kind of fine-tune the Manchester radio there, I can hit the tune button. And you guys aren't hearing it, but I'm hearing the relays clicking the radio over there, so it actually tuned. Let me show you how simple it is to set the macros up right here. You just go to macros. Go to macros, you pick one of these blank ones if you want to create a new one or whatever. But I want to go to the one that says tune. All I got to do is find it. So to create a button, all you do is just type in what name you want on the button. We'll put tune. And then you look in your radio manual, and then you come over here. I'm at button 6. You come over here to the macro button 6, and you look in your radio manual that came with your radio, and in the appendix, It's got all the commands for different things. We know by looking at the book to initiate the tuner, it's AC 111. And the book is very clear in laying it out. What that means, the AC is the tuner. 1 means I'm going to tune, I think, the receiver. Now the second one is going to tune the transmitter. And then the third one is I'm going to tune the radio. So you just put the code AC 111 and a semicolon in there. Okay, so that's the button we just identified as tune. And we go back to rigpi, and there's a tune button. If I press that, it's going to send a command. It sends a command to radio and tunes it. Again, here's preamp on and off. I just set that one up. That's easy to set up. That's preamp on, preamp off. Preamp on, preamp off, and again you can look at those buttons that I set up under macro for the preamp. Here's your preamp. I just called one button, preamp on, and the code there is PA1. That's preamp, and 1 means on. And I created another button here, and I just named it preamp off, and that's it. And that's PA0. That's the preamp off. So it's real simple to customize any button you want for your radio. I've done things like processor on and off, preamp on and off, tune, and so forth. And I've showed you my little box that I built that actually disconnects the antenna and turns the 12-volt power supply off. We have now designed the rigpi where it will send a connection out, and it will actually turn the 12-volt power off, and it will actually disconnect the antenna and ground it. And I just created a button called I call it antenna power on and antenna power off. So if I click that button right there, the radio is going to turn off. Well, actually, I don't have the box plugged in right now, but the radio would actually turn off and the power supply, and then that way you're safe if you're away from home and the antenna's on, you're having a lightning storm or whatever, your antenna's disconnected from the radio. So let's go back and see if we can tune somebody in here. There's a couple ways to tune people in. You can tune with the knob here. You can see it's changing the frequency. Or you can actually key on a digit, and you can roll the mouse. I'm rolling the mouse up, rolling the mouse down right now. So that's another way we can tune. Or you can just tune by keyboard input. I'm just going to put the cursor right here, and I'm going to key in. I want to go on 7200, so I'm going to key in 2, and it automatically jumps to the next position. So I say 0, 0. So it puts me on 7200. All right, so that's how that works. So there's a couple ways. You can tune with the knob. You can tune by clicking the digits. You can tune by inputting the digits. Let me see if I can find somebody here. Let's find some signals. I looked at the scope. There's not much on 40 meters right now. Okay. Coming back up. There we go.
Thanks a whole lot. WDAKOB. Okay, Rod. Yeah, the band is running kind of different tonight. I had a good copy on you, 20 over here. Okay, he said he had a full day in West Virginia, and he sends his regards.
So that's how we can tune people in.
Thank you, Rod.
Let's see if I can find another signal or two. Preamps on.
59 plus N, Khalid, in the state of New Hampshire. The name here is Woody. Whiskey, Oscar, Delta Yankee. Go ahead.
All right, if we want to change bands, all we have to do is click on the band here. For instance, 20 meters. It does remember the last frequency we had in. We were on 14.312, and of course, it's going to set it for upper sideband. I don't think we're going to hear anybody on 2020. It's pretty dead right now. I looked at the data scope on my 7620. It's just, there's nothing on 20 right now. There's somebody.
I have no problem copying you. You were peaking S5 there. I was watching the meter here too. So you're doing great. What did you do there for your antenna? Did you find some aluminum sections, and is it ground mounted or do you have it elevated? Over.
All right, so we found a signal on 20. Let's jump up to 80 meters real quick. See if anything's on 80. I doubt it. We'll see. I'll just real fast tune it. I heard a few little weak signals in there, man. Okay, let's jump back to 40. That's where we had more activity while ago.
The name is George, QSL. All right, George, good to hear you. You got Art here in May. Okay, DCCM, this is November 3 for Rick Yankee Victor.
All right, so you can see how it tunes. Let's see what else can I show you about this. Hey, you know, the neat thing about this too is spots. Let me show you spots. Let's go to settings for spots, and we're going to just set spots. These are like spotting servers or DX spot servers. Look at all these listed here, all around the world. These are servers that are out there with DX spots on it. I'm just going to pick a U.S. server. Let's click on KK4 UIL. This is a Hamilton, Alabama DX spot. Now I'm going to click there. Now I'm going to go back to the tuner, and we're going to look at spots. So if I go over here and click on spots, that's telling me everything that's on that server right now. Look at this. It's giving me the frequencies, and there's AC4GW. It just heard CO2RQ in Cuba. It's listed there, and he's on, and it gives you a graphical readout here on the side. Now watch this. If I click on this, this is, we're not going to hear anything because that was on 160. But watch this. That contact right now is being made on 160 at 1840. I'm going to click on it. Watch what happens. When I click on that, and go back to the tuner, I'm on 1840. I'm on that exact frequency where those guys are talking. So if you find somebody here you want to talk to, a DX station or something, and it also puts it over here, 1840 on the graph here. Let's look at this guy right here in Ecuador. I'm going to click on this guy. He's on 7074. That's probably, I guess that's digital. So he's on 7074. I'm going to click on HC5F. And it tells me all the stations that basically, I guess, are running digital there. It's on 7074. If I go back to the tuner, it's going to put me on 7074 right there, 7074. Okay, so you can see how you can use the spots to, you know, if you're looking for a rare station or a state or something, you can click on that spot, and it'll put you right on this frequency there, and then you can listen and see if you can hear him. It's got a log in here. It will log your contacts. I haven't played any with the log yet. Here's another neat feature. Again, guys, I'm on the internet, but look, it's got a look up here. It's got a look up here. We're going to look up HC5F. I actually put him in the, since it's the last station I clicked on, it actually put him in the search up here. I'm going to click the search for HC5F right here. And it tells me he's in Ecuador, latitude, longitude, beam headings, and so forth, rotate the antenna, and so forth. Now, this is a good lookup fast lookup for you to use when you're making contacts. I'm going to put W5 KUB in here. And I'm going to just hit look up here. And look at there. There it is. Tom Medlin. There's my address in Collierville and so forth. Yeah, this rigpi is going to have rotor control. In other words, it, as you saw there, it sees the latitude and longitude, and it'll actually aim the rotor at the station if you have that turned on. If you have a rotor that you can connect it to, so that's a cool thing about it. Let's see what else is in here. So you can set up different user accounts. Right now I've got Walter, a user account set up in R3E, and I've got me an account set up. You can set up multiple accounts where you have your friends can connect into it, make contacts through it if you want to. Let's see what else we got. I'm not too familiar with the keyer yet. I haven't been working with the keyer yet. I'm going to go back to tuner. Again, I'm using the TS2000 radio right here. Now, the way that connects to the rigpi, we're coming out of the rigpi box with just a little serial to USB adapter, and that plugs right into the back of the radio. So the TS2000 has a DB9 on the back of it for your serial connections. So that's how we're controlling the radio. All the CAT commands are being controlled through that cable, serial cable to the radio. We are taking an audio line and an audio line for audio in and audio out of the rigpi and putting that into the radio to move the audio in and out of that radio. Now, I've tested this on the I've tested it on the ICOM and the Yaesu. They have USB connectors on the back, and I've found out that you can actually configure it and you can run the audio and the CAT control through a single USB connector plugged between the radio and the rigpi. So, oh, and here's the push to talk right here. You press it, and it keys your transmitter. We're actually on the air right now. Oh, well, I don't want to be on 70, 74 for sure. That was a mistake of mine. So let's just go out of the band here. Let's go up the band a little. Let's go up to 72. Okay. You go push to talk, and then of course that's transmit. We're transmitting up in the. And it says CW. I need to go to lower sideband. There we go. Now we're in lower sideband. So, you know, working out all the little issues to automate a lot of this stuff to make it work properly. We made a lot of improvements in it over the past 30 days. Hopefully this thing will be on the market real soon. It's a pretty neat little box. The little box is about 4 inches square. It actually will replace your station computer. You don't even need a computer or a laptop at your station anymore. You can use it, and it's got its own browser in it where you can, you know, browse the internet and do all the kind of things you want to. So that's kind of a quick overview of the new rigpi station server, the RSS. It's going to carry a number of MFJ 1, 2, 3, 4, meaning it's as easy as 1, 2, 3, 4 to operate. So, man, I'm really excited about this. I'm already making contacts with it, and this is going to be our mobile from now on. Hey, the tablet in the truck with this screen right here, we can jump any bands we want. And like I say, we're using, right now it's plugged into a TS2000, running about 100 watts back here in the Memphis area. And I've got an off-center fed 80 through 6 meter off-center fed antenna on there, which makes it real easy to jump from 80, 40, 20, you know, different bands. So it gives you that capability to jump around different bands by having basically a multi-band antenna on there. So, hey, I hope I showed you some detail that you haven't seen in previous shows, and there'll be more to come. Thanks. Okay, hey guys, I hope that showed you a little bit more detail how this thing's going to work. Again, it's in development right now, and it's getting close. It's going to come with all the, well, I won't say all, it's going to come with a lot of the digital modes already built in. This thing's going to have all the digital modes built in. You'll be able to work digital. You can work FM, AM, sideband, any band, any frequency, depending on your radio. You saw how I could configure the. You saw how I could configure the macro keys. Someone asked about a power, a master power or something. Let me show you what I've got here. On the macro here, you see, and I may have mentioned this back just a minute ago, but I created a button called antenna power on and antenna power off. If you guys remember, when I was evaluating some other remote shack type systems, I didn't like leaving my antenna on all the time. If I'm away from home or on a trip and it's lightning, I don't want the antenna hooked to the radio. Also, I didn't want the power supply running day and night for like 30 days if I wasn't using it. So if you remember, I built this little box that actually turned the 12-volt power supply on and off to the radio, and it also disconnected the antenna and grounded the antenna. That's the same thing I've done here. I've used my same box, but I configured one key here called antenna power off and antenna power on. And if I click this right here, if you'll watch up here, watch the frequency meter. I'm going to click antenna power off, and let's see, did it work? Oh, you know what? I've got that. I haven't got it hooked up over right now. I haven't got the box plugged in. But I can actually click that button and turn the system completely off, even a 12-volt power supply, and it disconnects the antenna. And then once I connect back through my rigpi here, all I got to do is hit power on right here, and it will turn the power on, the radio will come up, and the frequency will read out, and so forth. And it won't do it with a 1965 Helicrafter, and it won't do it with the HW101 or the HW100. I'm sorry, guys, but you're just going to have to suck it in on those right there. The nice thing about this is it'll work on any browser, any operating system. It'll work on Windows. It'll work on Mac. It'll work on Linux. Any place you can get a browser, this thing's going to work. So it's really sharp. It gives you HF radio capability. I like it. I can put it in my truck, put it right there. Like when we go to Dayton and I'm in the back seat and everybody else is driving, I'd like to do some operating. Boy, I can have that little 10-inch tablet right there on the back of the seat, and I've got my radio right there. And you can plug in a headset into your tablet. Or even your phone. And if you've got a smartphone, and it'll run a browser, it gives you the very same screen. And you can even plug this headset. You even plug this headset into your phone or your tablet or your computer, and hey man, you're on the air. So it's gonna be cool. I can't wait to use it going to Dayton next year. It's gonna be real cool. Hope you got a little bit more information about it there. We're approaching 9:15. I will open Hangout for a few minutes. We have not done Hangout in a couple shows, but Hangout is where we share a link in the chat room, and anybody that clicks on that link can join us and be on the show. And if you've got a camera with your computer, you'll actually be on the show. Your video will come in and show. We can take up to 10 people at a time. So we're gonna open up Hangout. If somebody will put the let's see if somebody will put the link there. I'll try to do it right here. Copy and paste it. If you click on that link right there, it should take you to Hangout. Well, Joe, hey man, it's been great having you tonight, man.
It's been great to be with you, Tom, and look forward to seeing you. Let's see, probably in Orlando will be the next one.
We will be in Orlando. That's going to be February, I think. Yeah, early February. So we'll be there, and we're just going to visit it. We'll take some video and some stuff. We're not going to set up. And then from there, we're going to go down to Fort Lauderdale and catch about a 7-day cruise. While we're there, we didn't want to waste a trip down to Florida without getting on a boat, you know, so we're going to take a little cruise while we're down here, and then we'll be back.
Sounds good.
See you, Joe.
73 is all, and look forward to being on again.
All right, Joe. 73. Thanks. All right, so let's see what we can do about bringing Hangout up. We hadn't done this in a while. Okay. Let's see if anybody still joins Hangout with us. It's coming up. It's coming up. It says I'm the first one to join. Let's see if anybody else joins here. So Hangout is up right now. Oh, wrong camera. I've got the wrong camera on Hangout. There's Douglas.
Hello.
Hey, Doug. How you doing? I'm trying to figure out how to change my camera on Hangout. So there, let's see. Oh, there. I got to go to settings. Settings. That should do it. Maybe. Done. There we go. Now I'm back. Now we got a camera on there. Let's see if I can.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can bring everybody in. Here we go. All right. Who we got? Let's see. KE7KK just joined us. Hey, KE7KK, how you doing? Let's see. KE7KK. Man, I forgot the name. Let me do adjustment here. Right, top, bottom. Where'd he go? He left us.
I guess it's just us tonight, Tom.
Yep. All right. If you join us on Hangout, you need to mute the show's audio.
KK just joined us. Hey, KE7KK, how you doing?
There he is. All right. Let's see. Who's it?
Let's see. KE7KK.
All right. Chuck, you need to mute the video player. Where you were watching the show, just mute that speaker because we're getting feedback from it. Perfect.
Hey, Roy.
There's Roy.
Hey, how you doing?
There's my rock star. There's my rock star, Roy. We haven't talked in a long time, man.
I couldn't figure out why I couldn't do Hangouts for the longest time.
Why? Why?
Well, I had fired the Chrome browser on my phone, and I didn't make the connection. And it turned out that if you don't start this thing in Chrome, it will never connect to the Hangouts app. It kept taking me to the Google Play Store, and I already had it. You know, that was kind of like you couldn't get there from here. So finally figured it out. Finally.
All right, cool. Hey, let me go to Chuck here. Hey, Chuck, how you doing, man? Oh, I don't know if I've seen you on Hangout before.
No, you haven't.
All right, what's your call, Chuck?
KF7PK.
Hey, KF7PK.
You tonight, I think on the Roundtable.
You checked in the Roundtable net tonight, man. You get an extra 10 merits tonight.
Is that a gold star or a silver star?
It's silver tonight. Next week, if you check in next week, you'll get a gold star. Okay.
Okay.
All right, man. Hey guys. While I'm at it, I tell you what. While I'm at it, guys, I'm going to do this. I'm going to open the phone lines too while we got Hangout going. We're going to just open it all up tonight. Let's see. Let me find a phone number to put up here. Let's see that. that might work. There you go. 901-286-1116. Hey, if you don't have a camera and you got a telephone, call us. Join the hangout. Join the show tonight. 901-286-1116. All right, let me move it. Let's move it. Phone number up there to the top. There we go. What do you got there, Douglas?
It's the front head control unit for my Kenwood TK690.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Very good. All right, so Chuck, you're out in Salt Lake City, man. You had a pretty good signal tonight.
Yeah, I've got a vertical full wave 40-meter loop that I put up. It's like a triangle, and the top is about 38 feet, and the bottom wire is about 6 feet off the ground. I can't believe, on 40, how well it works.
And that's a triangle, so that's a delta loop, right?
Right, and it's mounted vertically.
Okay. Now, I've got one up. In fact, I was switching back and forth tonight. That's a very good antenna. I've got a delta loop up out back. It's a triangle, and I've got the point of the triangle at the bottom. I've got the top wires up real high in the air, and then down at the bottom down here, I've got a balun right there, and that's where I feed it. So I feed mine like that. Now that is horizontal. That is horizontal polarity right there.
Mine's the other way.
You got it turned up. You got the flat across the bottom and the point.
I'm feeding it a quarter wave down on one of the legs.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say if you feed it down one of the legs, then it becomes vertical. So that's cool. You're vertical. I've been wanting to play with a vertical polarization. Mine is horizontal, but I'm gonna put me up just a.
I can't believe how well it works.
Let me tell you that delta loop is a outstanding antenna. Outstanding.
Particularly on 40 meters. And late at night, I talked to ZLs and VKs.
And you know, I don't know how you're feeding yours. I've got a 4-to-1 balun on mine, and I'm just running coax out there. But let me tell you, I don't have to tune it. I trimmed it and tuned it for 40 meters, but it works great. Very low SWR on 20.
I'm feeding mine with 300 ohm twin lead. And a 1-to-1 balun at the right near the shack and into an antenna tuner. Okay, so you're tuning it. Okay, well that's good. It's a quarter wave of 75 ohm coax, and it comes out at 50 ohms at the rig.
Yeah, well that's cool, and especially with a tuner there, you're able to tune it, in a lot of bands. Now, typically when you match something with a quarter wave, for instance, I'm feeding that delta loop out there with a balun and 4-to-1 balun and coax into the shack, no tuner, because the SWR is very low. It's like 1.1 or 1.2 on most bands. Now, a lot of people will put a quarter wave matching stub on there, but when you put a quarter wave matching stub on there, that pretty much limits that antenna to work that band. But now, since you've got a tuner on there, I can see that you're able to tune it to different places. So it's amazing.
I use it on 20. It works fairly well on 20.
Yeah, mine works good on 22. The Delta Loop's a great antenna. When the Heard Island DXpedition was down near Antarctica, and everybody in the U.S. was complaining they can't hear it, they can't work it. I don't know if you remember Heard Island, but they had some really bad conditions and sunspots and propagation just to even get back to the U.S. They were working mostly Europe and Asia, but I worked them, but I knew that they were the wrong direction for my dipoles or my delta loop, so I just cut me a little 30-meter delta loop and hung it outside and turned it, where I knew it was aimed toward, Antarctica down there. Made a contact with them, It was pretty good. Delta Loop's a good antenna. And there is the upper, or is it the upper? I can't even remember it. Is it upper?
Hey, Mike.
Hello.
Well, guys, I'm sorry we haven't done Hangout in a while, but the last couple of shows just went really long, and I was starting to get hungry, and I had guests, and so I was not able to do it. So tonight, actually, the show almost fizzled out tonight. We didn't have our regular guest on. We didn't have anything much going, but I think we were able to at least fill the spot with something that might have been interesting.
Sure, it's always interesting.
Hope that Katie gets back maybe next week. Can't wait to have Katie come back, and we'll get Josh back on here. Get Martin in here. Man, we'll get